am really excited to be live with you all on Substack. Yay! Yay. I don't know why I just clapped like that. So silly. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Melissa Bird. I have a new, hi, Nicole. I have a new book out called Leading from the Heart. And I was thinking this morning about, oh my gosh, my glasses are fogging up. It's funny. Being middle-aged is something. I have a new book out called Leading from the Heart. And this morning I was thinking about my book, and I was thinking about leadership and faith, and not in the, hey, not in the like overly religious way, but like faith as in trusting ourselves. So I actually got a phone call this morning from a very old friend who I've actually known. He played rugby with my dad, my stepdad. Anyway, I got a call from him this morning, and we were talking about my congressional race. Anyway, he's known me since I started my political career back in 2001, 2002-ish. So I knew him from my childhood because Utah's a small place, small lake city. And anyway, we were talking about how everything I've done up to this moment has led to this moment. And I have been thinking a lot about leadership and community and what it means to be a leader. Hi, Margaret. So thinking about leadership in the context of an intuitive, community-centered, connective way. And I've been thinking about this, especially like in the last 2 days, how particular women fall into the trap of thinking that leadership means you're tough. And this idea that actually the leadership that people are craving is connective. And the way we really disrupt leadership from this very white supremacist top-down approach is to think about how we are connecting in community and connecting with each other. And one of the things I've learned, particularly over the last year, is that what people in communities are craving is that connection, right? We want to feel connected with our leaders. We want to feel connected with the people in our community. And I think this has become so much more profound since the isolation of COVID. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and I read a lot of books, and I keep thinking about this idea of how people really don't want to feel isolated from the people who are leading, whether it's organizations or managers or leaders, elected officials. Like, people really want to feel connected with the people that are leading. And I've been thinking about my own leadership, because my own leadership style is very much rooted in community. It's about coming together collectively to listen to ideas from other people and think about how we can help people really be connected to our communities. And Nicole, absolutely, to be seen and valued and heard. And I have learned this time and time again, not just in my business and not just as a public speaker, not just when I am speaking and training and doing all the things that I do in my professional life, but also as I have been on the campaign trail. Like, the experience of showing up at people's doors and delivering lawn signs and just watching the shock on their face that I, as a congressional candidate, would show up at the door has really taught me how much we are craving people who are willing to listen, who are willing to hear people out, and who are willing to lead from this intuitive space of acknowledging other people's existence. And I think that is the thing that I have really been focused on in the last year is, I can talk myself up and have a million positive quotes all over my walls and, you know, have my vision boards and, like be inspired by all these things and read all the books and listen to all the things. But what I'm really learning in the last year is that people are craving someone who understands how the system works, is willing to disrupt that system, and is also thinking very intentionally about how we are helping each other feel resourced enough to rise up against this, what's happening in our country. How are we engaging? We've seen this rise of mutual aid, like people are talking about mutual aid so often now, but how are we really engaging with that aid? What does it mean to be assisting each other in helping each other become the best version of themselves? How are we really encouraging people just through listening and being seen and seeing others? Um, how are we really allowing ourselves to just witness each other? And that's what I mean by leadership and faith. Like that's what I titled this live chat, right? Like, um, yes, Nicole, like this isolation from leaders contributing to helplessness and powerlessness, which is not the point of having leaders, right? Like leaders are, I mean, I guess if you're living in a white supremacist capitalist society, then of course that's the point of leaders. They're disconnected because they're fancy. But when we think about the leaders that we want working with us and impacting our communities, thinking about how we each hold the capacity to be a leader within our own work, within our own communities, even with our own neighborhoods. Like we all have that ability if we talk about leadership in a way that is communal. And this is, I mean, I was even talking to my neighbor while she was watering her flowers last night. She just got in a car accident and her knee is jacked up. And we were just talking about, what do you need? Like, we very rarely ask this question about what do you need? And as I have been reflecting on my new book and been thinking about um, leadership, I think the most profound question that we can ask people in our community, whether it's people we know or total strangers that are asking for help, is asking, what do you need? Because there's a part in my book where I talk about this guy who used to sit out in front of our post office, and I would sit and chat with him. And, oftentimes, I would make assumptions in my head about him because he was quite critically ill. And I would ask him what he needed. And there's this part in my book where I said, what do you need? And he said, hot lasagna. And I was thinking the guy needed, like, a ride to the hospital. And all he wanted was hot lasagna. And so I think this question becomes really, really critically profound when we have faith in ourselves, when we have faith in our capacity as human beings to see and listen and pay attention to what's happening around us. And we have faith in where we are being led and where we are being guided towards, then we can hear what others need. And it's not always this, a house and a car and a job and like all these things. Really, what people need is hot lasagna, right? Like a warm meal, connection, uh, this idea of trusting that other people will follow through. And I think because we have become so isolated in the way we are connecting with each other, because we're just trying to get along and make it through each day, I think being present to the day also gives us the capacity to open up our hearts to think about how we are connecting with others. And that's really why I write here on Substack. Like, I was here before Substack was cool, y'all. certainly before we could go live. Like none of this video shit existed back when I started on Substack. And so I just want to encourage us all as we are moving through our days, especially as summer is coming and it's getting hotter. Even here in Oregon, it's so hot right now. Unusually warm. Just thinking about how we are opening ourselves up to seeing what is around us in a way that is very intentional, and thinking about leadership in a completely different way, because leadership it's about having knowledge of the system. It's about understanding how structures work. I used to teach this to my students when I taught social workers about policy and advocacy. Like, you got to understand the system in which we are living. And also, we have to remember that the way that we make changes in our communities is to really listen and have faith. And I'm gonna tell you my favorite story about leadership and faith. So I love artists. I love art. I love music. And for those of you who are new to the world of the Bird, Metallica is my most favorite band of all time ever. So I love Metallica more than anything else on the planet. They're my favorite. And a couple of years ago, they came out with a podcast on the anniversary of the Black Album, which caused a great deal of controversy when it came out because it sounded like nothing they'd ever done before. I love it. I still love it. I still listen to it every single day. But one of the things that happened in that podcast is that I noticed that they had to have faith. Yes, rock on, Nicole. They had to have faith in where they were being guided to make that album. They had to be vulnerable and open, that they did not have all the knowledge to make the album that they wanted to make. They had to be willing to ask other people for help. And that is leadership and faith. We would not have the Metallica we have now, that sound, if they wouldn't have been willing to ask for help. And I find that to be so profound as I listen to artists. Suleika Jaouad is one of my favorite writers. And I listen to her speak and listen to her talk and listen to her think on her journey. And her books are just phenomenal. If y'all have not read her, I highly recommend it, or listen to her podcast interviews. She's so great. Or watch American Symphony on Netflix. It's so good. But I think about how she often talks about how she had to start asking for help to transform her work while she was also having cancer treatment. And this is what I just really have been thinking, like, these great thinkers, these folks who we consider to be great talents, who we look up to because they inspire us with their art and their music and their creativity or their leadership. All of those people have something in common. They're willing to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to try and get them by going to my community or outside my community to other people who don't think or look like me. And I'm going to lead from that space of listening. And they all are willing to ask for help. And they're all willing to think about what other people need. And I think that this is the extraordinary transformation that I definitely talk about in my book and explore in my book, but that I also have been working on exploring, not just as I have been running for Congress, but also as I have been writing and out in this world, connecting with other people, exploring the idea of just trusting that wherever I am going is the place I am meant to be going, and being open to receiving the next direction, right? Like, it's kind of amazing. So for those of you who don't know, and I know some of you have already signed up, thank you so much for, if you right now through the month of May, if you become a subscriber, an annual subscriber to my Substack, you get a signed copy of my book and also a 30-minute session with me. So I know some of you have already signed up for that, and I am ordering your books. I'm working on getting those out to you. And I will email those of you who have already signed up. But for those of you who haven't, if you become an annual subscriber to my Substack, you get a signed copy of my book and also a 30-minute session with me. And it's really fun and awesome and amazing. So I am so grateful to all of you who've been listening to me today. I would love to hear what your thoughts are about this idea of leadership and faith and how you are connected to just the next thing and the next thing. And I'd really love to know how in your own world you have experienced asking people what they need and figuring out how to connect those things together. I think that's really the mutual aid of um, those things. Nicole, yes, I can. I don't have a pen. Yes, Nicole, I can. Nicole, will you send me a DM here in Substack and send me that email? But really, I would love to hear how you have asked for help and what has happened as a result of that, and how you have navigated these things in your own world. Because quite frankly, I think this is how we totally disrupt and dismantle white supremacist capitalistic bullshit structures, is by paying attention to what people need. And I think you're awesome. And I'm just really grateful that you were here to listen to me today live. For those of you who are catching this on the replay, same questions apply. And I would love for any of you who are listening to become annual subscribers to my Substack so I can send you presents. Yay! Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you for listening, and go out in the world and just listen. Yes, listen. I hope you all have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.